really have to gel, maybe get Firo into American servers as opposed to having this monstrous ping that I know he's been dealing with.
Yeah.
But he's definitely shown himself to be a great player, and I think they definitely have a lot of raw potential. So we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, it's kind of always the case as raw potential versus results, but I definitely agree with you on that front. Interesting opening from T-Birds though. This has kind of been the pub stompy hero recently in high MMR matches with the Lycan. Some players even noticeably going for the no wolves build early on, considering how strong Howl is and with all the regen given to you from the passive. HFN doing it a lot in the pub, so we'll see. I mean, I don't know if they'll go that route here, but T-Birds gonna pick that up for themselves. Also the Shadow Shaman. So game one they went Troll, Beastmaster, Bristleback, and coDL, so very push heavy. And already with this opening, Lycan and Shadow Shaman definitely in the same sort of theme.
What's your opinion on the Shadow Shaman and the 4 position? Do you think he has a lot of potential, or is he more of a babysitter? Can he make ganks happen? Is he too slow?
Yeah, I think that the biggest downfall is definitely kind of the way he meanders around the map. He just doesn't feel like he gets places quick enough. I love his toolkit. I can't really put my finger on what makes him weaker than other lane supports. Definitely the movement speed plays a factor, but he just seems like he takes a bit of a time to ramp up. I mean, theoretically though, with farm, the hero should be great. It's just a matter of where he gets that. You know, he's not a great jungler, so in some respects, he does have to kind of sit in lane. And ganking mid, I guess it's a possibility depending on your mid laner. But yeah, it always does feel like, is he able to actually get within cast range of that mid laner? Definitely a hero I've always liked. In practice, in pro, has never really seemed to shine. And we'll see if T-Birds can make it work here, though.
I saw Aoi 2000 playing Shadow Shaman a couple days ago, and he went for a pretty interesting build, I thought. He maxed Ether Shock first, which you would
Hmm.
think would be not that ideal on a support, but at level 1, it's a 140 damage nuke at 95 mana, which is like really good harass. So I think you max that first, get 1 point in each of the lockdown spells, and maybe you can make some kills happen. But we'll see what the plan is for T-Birds today.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, you're gonna max your nukes early on. I think that the hex itself scales really well, but the value point's okay in it. So yeah, we'll see if he goes kind of the more supporty route here. Definitely feels like with the Lycan, a little bit of lockdown always helps. So there's potential for that. Shackle's great against Legion as well. Don't really allow her to get the right clicks off in the duel. So we'll see how it works out for them. Leaving it early on though, as you said, I would definitely anticipate it's going to be in the 4 role here, but they do end up picking a Tusk, so this may mean that the Shadow Shaman takes a backseat farm wise. Of course, they could always put the Tusk in the 3 position in the hands of Moon. That's not something we've seen all too common, but with the Warlock in the safe lane, there's potential for them to go aggro. Just that the Warlock, he's a great zoning hero against a single offlaner, and he's very good as a self-sufficient support when it's just the one offlaner. Kind of allows you to go greedy and roam elsewhere, but against the tri-lane, a little bit more difficult for him to survive on his own. Fatal Bonds is nice when you have a good supporting cast, but when you have heroes like Tusk snowballing into the face of a Warlock, even with that base strength gain being as good as it is, he tends to kind of keel over. So we'll see if that's the route T-Birds are going. Either way, Tusk always a fun hero to watch. And there is now, the potential for a Blink snowball save at some point during the Legion duel.
Absolutely. One thing I've always liked about T-Birds is they've definitely had a pretty wide composition of what players play what
Yeah.
heroes. Like looking at this draft right now, it's kind of hard to say for sure who's playing what.
Hmm.
Like generally you see Saksa play position 5 heroes, but he's known to be like an extremely
Spirit
good Tusk
breaker.
player. So maybe he's on the Tusk and Misery's on the Shadow Shaman, but we really don't know for sure because they're just so flexible.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of like blur between Saxa and Moon as well, who actually ends up getting farm. Misery tends to play kind of the roamers a bit, but yeah, as you said, it's actually Tusk specifically. When this hero was considered strong, I think Saxa was top 2, if not top 3 in the world on this hero. So he's very, very comfortable on it, and maybe for that reason, T-Bird's going to go in that direction. But Spirit Breaker, an interesting one. So I talked about potential for aggro. This makes it a lot more difficult. This is a super beefy hero early on. He has a Warlock behind him to enable him, so they could kind of go dual and force the Tusk to stay in a defensive tri-lane configuration with the Legion. They have to press the attack there as well, which synergizes nicely with the Greater Bash. Or they could put him over in the safe lane to ensure the farm for the Lycan early on. So I'm a fan of the Complexity Spirit Breaker pick. Likely in the hands of Z-Freak, potentially Swindles does pick it up, but more than likely going to be Z-Freak there, and we all know how capable he is on pretty much any hero in the game.
Definitely, as the drafts start coming together, it's interesting to see how heavily strength heroes are kind of favored in this current meta, just being really beefy, jumping into the front lines, making things happen, as opposed to in the past when you've seen a lot of just agi supports, agi heroes in general, just standing in the back, doing their damage. And that Timbersaw, great hero against T-Bird's lineup. Probably, it's hard to say. This could be safe lane.
Yeah, I think so. Moo is definitely, we saw him play Timbersaw quite effectively at TI. He is the safe laner, so I agree with you on that possibility. But again, part of drafting is leaving variability and not allowing the opponent to narrow down their bans against you. So there's potential to put the Legion or the Timbersaw safe mid or off lane, honestly, for both those cores. So still kind of a bit of a question mark for T-Birds going forward. They're going to ban the mid lane hero, so they're expecting the off laner and safe laner to be showing as they remove Firo's signature TA. And certainly a wise ban from them. They don't have much to pop refraction except for maybe wards, getting all those attacks in at once. But other than that, they are brutal at dealing with those refraction charges. So wise ban for them. Tinker going to be the ban away from Weehaw from Complexity.
I think it's interesting that Complexity would ban this Tinker because they have a Spirit Breaker who's kind of like, I'll follow you all across the map and track you down. But maybe they really fear Wee's Tinker. Could be good against her lineup. They don't have a lot of physical damage, but it's hard to see. I think they both need kind of a pushing hero. Complexity could go for maybe like, who would be good? Terrorblade probably won't be that great against all its nuke damage. Lifestealer maybe? That could be good.
They definitely do lack the building hitter. Troll Warlord is actually banned out by T-Birds. They're going to take a page out of T-Birds' book from game 1 and go for the Bristleback here, which is definitely an interesting pickup. Doesn't necessarily give them Siege. Does give them Roche and some more team fight, a little bit of physical damage as well. So a lot of frontline. You were mentioning beefiness, Bristleback, Timbersaw, Spirit Breaker. Complexity have it in spades. Which allows Legion not to be the first person to enter the fray and therefore be reacted on. So perhaps, they're in some ways facilitating these duels by allowing these big beefy jump liners to garner the reaction from T-Birds and then allowing Legion to counter initiate. Still though, it feels like hitting buildings is going to be difficult. The team fight definitely there in a large amount for Complexity, but hitting the buildings is going to be difficult. On the other side of the coin, T-Birds do have the Lycan and the Shadow Shaman, but still no kind of Lifestealer-esque hero like you were mentioning that can sit up on high ground with Aegis and sort of just right-click at the buildings to no avail. So we'll see what the final pick is here. It is going to be the SF, so with the Dragonlance, definitely can consider him the building-hitting hero. Certainly something Weehaw is comfortable with, and maybe the major thing here is that we should have a good matchup, whether it's versus Timber, Legion, or Bristleback in the mid lane.
I think the interesting thing about Complexity's draft is really any of these core heroes could go in any lane. There's really so much flexibility, whether it be a mid Timber, mid Bristle, mid Legion, like you said before, anything can really go anywhere. And I think if they have a good laning stage, they could really get on top of this game. But if they have a bad laning situation, it's really hard for heroes like Bristle and Timber to come back into the game. But we'll see. I think it's looking like a good draft for both teams.
Yeah, and it's absolutely necessary for Complexity to snowball, it feels. I mean, if this game is even, it feels very difficult for them to actually be able to take objectives. So I feel that they're going to need to build a big lead, get things like a Solar Crest, get things like a Crimson Guard or a Pipe in order to go high ground against the enemy. So I'm looking for them to have a good laning stage and have a sizable, maybe not huge, but sizable lead in towards the mid game in order for them to actually kind of crack high ground, or at least take the tier 2s and look at a Roche. They're not the quickest at Roche. Sure, they have Nasal Goo, but Warlock, Spiritbreaker, Timbersaw, they don't really contribute anything in that manner. So definitely agree with you in the fact that they need to snowball. But the lineup does get pretty scary if they're able to do so.
The battle tower challenge
God.
begins.
Why does this happen in lobbies? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, I feel like they could take this out. This isn't super necessary, but
you know, it's all about the dick measuring. When you get into your pubs and the enemy's tower looks like shit, always feels good. All right, so I guess I overlooked slightly the old Cogs Shadow Fiend combo. So we talked about having a good matchup in towards the mid lane. He's gonna get to a mid lane with 11 to 14 souls as this game starts.
Seems like T-Birds have really been practicing the Cogs trick. They've been getting it down pat 3 every time. I think that's the perfect Cogs play.
All right, Ward going to be dropped down as well by Saxa. They're not going to see anyone, so maybe this tips them off to the fact that Complexity is smoked as a unit here. But there's always the possibility that people just walk towards top, via the lane or more north of that ward. So still, there is a chance Complexity do end up getting something done. But because they're actually making the Cogs play, no one even near the rune or shrine just yet. Complexity, however, stalking, standing on the high ground, and it looks like this might just bear fruit. Walking towards mid lane with 15 souls, and if they kill off the Shadow Fiend now, it's all for naught. And 15 souls, pops up a well played and walks up to the high ground into certain death. Saxa nearby gets the shards off. The bounce isn't good enough though, and goes down from 15 souls to 8. They also secure themselves the rune. And so 3 runes going Complexity's way. First Blood going their way as well. And Moon follows it up with the GLHF. So show of sportsmanship there. 700 net worth lead. Begin the game off here for Complexity.
I mean, even though Weeha dies and gives up the First Blood, he's still going to lane with 8 souls,
Yeah.
which is definitely better than 0.
And it is certainly innately a favorable matchup for this SF. So charge in towards top lane. Moon does have a set of Cogs available, so gonna be difficult to kill off as I lose my camera. Demon nearby doesn't really have anything to add in the way of disable, but Moon will be forced more than likely to salve up here early on. And meanwhile, Zero getting aggressed upon by mid, as you would expect. Bot lane shards. Oh, not going to bounce.
Almost. That was close.
We do have the lane ward there as well to kind of facilitate this aggression and just allow Rezo to free farm. Lycan, one of the best feeling heroes to last hit in lane with, I feel. Such great base damage. But either way, Z-Freak clearing up. Going to try and pincer around Moon here, or at least maybe take his bounty rune. And for now, Moon still just taking some harass. Windle's trying to make his way back into lane bottom. But it will be difficult against this lineup. Attempts a pull, won't be able to get it. Misery now inbound. Saxa nearby as well. Only level 1 though on the Tusk. Does catch the shards, and they do have the Ether Shock. And that'll finish off Swindles. So the response to the First Blood added here by Thunderbirds. They're going to square things up 1-1.
Weeha mid. Might go down here.
Yeah?
For sure.
And he will. Good call as Z-Freak makes his first effective charge in with that level 2 Greater Bash skilled up. Big kill for Firo to find in what would otherwise be a difficult lane. And the second death of the game, albeit one pre-minute 0 for Still hurtful for the Shadow Fiend. Charge going to be scouted briefly by Saxa. Oh, actually Invis rune on Z-Freak. So bottom lane, in he goes. Misery could be in a little bit of trouble here. 1 bash should net his kill, but they don't get that lucky. They will end up getting the Orb of Venom to tick him out. Rezo, tanky. They should have been able to chase him down regardless with the overwhelming odds. But early kills here. Saxa chasing down Firo, unable to get it in range, and with the cooldown on shards, is going to end up backing off. Still level 1 is the Tusk or Thunderbird side. probably a bit concerning for them. I'll see if Sax is able to find some farm for himself here after, as we gonna shrine up with his comrade.
I feel like this is exactly the type of early game complexity he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Tusk is kind of forced to be near mid because this Bristleback is having a really great lane. Weezer already died twice, so he can't really get levels. Meanwhile, Zefrik's running all over, getting shit done. It's looking good so far. I feel pretty good.
Yeah, definitely so. Moved atop the CS board as well on his Timbersaw. You know, roughly at parity with Resolution, but Timber with just his level 6 to some extent feels like he can get a little more done than his counterpart, the Lycan. Body blocks mid lane from Zefrik. The second bash gonna come out. Now we in trouble with the goo. He's gonna drop here. More than likely turns to try and go for the kill and will get it, but no experience, as Zefrik will net the experience here and finds Firo. Another grab in the mid lane. Zefrik actually the one to pick up the last hit on the Spirit Breaker. So he's going to be in towards that urn, and we having a rough time early on. Saxa, as you mentioned, just kind of getting pulled around the map against his will, and it seems like he's been just a step too late in almost every rotation thus far.
Luckily for T-Birds, Fear doesn't get that double damage room. I think that would have been super bad with the lane he's already having, a double damage room on top of that. He could probably just run Weehaw down, but Tusk picks it up. Maybe he can get something done with a snowball shards combo, trap someone in, maybe Swindle's down bottom, but Zefrik's right behind him, so
yeah,
might not be able to get anything done right now.
Yeah, Rezo having a fine time, but no real kill potential for this Radiant safe lane. And Swindle's, you know, not the hero that you want to be able to get all this farm here on. With the DD rune and the Howl, it will jump in for a beautiful charged up snowball by Saxa, timing it, waiting for the charge on Zefrik. I talked about his sort of affinity for this hero earlier on, and he's going to show it there, able to dodge the stun on the charge and kill off Zefrik here. Nice return kill for him to finally find, but still complexity looking good in the early stages. Cogs used top lane here by Moon, and Zefrik is a charging, so this could come back to bite him in the rear here. Moo, 3 levels in the reactive armor, so can kind of dive deep, but only 1 level in the chain, and it looks like
no shrine.
Oh, there is no shrine. Battery assault gonna keep them at bay, it seems, for now. But yeah, it seems like if Moo perhaps just reacted a little bit quicker, they may have gotten the kill there.
Bottom might be going down.
He is gonna get body blocked up, and Orb of Venom is there as well.
Oh, Zefrik's here to help him out.
He's in towards the shrine, gets the bash as well. Misery low on mana.
70%.
Oh, the overwhelming odds. The Orb of Venom tick again. Second time in the game. Gonna get them. Good item, right? And Zefrik, he should be just fine to make it out here, barring a great play from Saxa. Saxa low on mana for any sort of attempt at that. And worse for wear are Thunderbirds, as Swindles picks up their bounty rune just as the cherry on top. Shrine gonna be popped up, and a lot of experience going the way of Swindles here as well by the Shrine, who's already sitting on level 4, near eclipsing that level 5 mark. Moon will do the same top on his clock. So having a decent early game, maybe the one silver lining thus far for Thunderbird side. Wee's recovered decently in the way of CS, 44. And
Moon
Demon
get a solo kill, it seems like.
caught top lane, one more right click, finds the kill. Had the rocket flare as well if he needed it, but economic play from Moon, and that solo kill will put him very close to his hook shot milestone. Saxa rotating around towards mid, does have a ward under the cover of smoke. Stack was just attained there by Firo, and he's just a little bit too tanky to kill off here early on. Charge gonna go in bottom lane as Rezo pops up the shapeshift, but is far too unhealthy to continue fighting. Still though, with his 4 billion move speed, will make it out of the range of any sort of threat.
Interesting itemization. Rezo has gone for the early Midas on Lycan. Have you seen this before? I think this is the first time I'm seeing it.
On Lycan specifically, no. On almost every other safe laner, I suppose, yes. I mean, it's decently timed. He's already used it once, so it looks like he got it, you know, around the 6-minute mark, which is certainly good. It does feel like, though, you know, we were talking about in the draft, that Complexity are going to want to fight early, so it remains to be seen if he'll be able to get enough items to counteract that by the time Complexity are ready and willing. Saksa, Invis Rune, looking at Firo here. Firo turns around, cops a Shadow Raise to the face, and will think twice as eFreak is able to net another kill bottom lane. Pretty deep, but ends up getting it on the Shadow Shaman. Dire Ward, I guess, facilitating that charge. Did end up missing it. Oh, the shard's gonna whiff there on Firo.
Slips out.
Able to make it to safety. Moon does have his hook shot available. Moo, though, a very difficult kill for this Clockwork. Does have the level 4 battery assault, but still feels like a more than difficult kill. Support's doing well for Complexity here. Level 5 on the Warlock. And level 4 on Z-Freak to the 4 and 3 of the Shadow Shaman and Tusk, respectively, of the Radiant side. Swindles has his duel ready as well, bottom lane. Z-Freak just TP'd in towards the shrine. He's cutting into the trees, maybe thinking about this. Lycan very tanky, though, early on. Charge in now, in towards Z-Freak. Now they're thinking of this duel. Certainly. Overwhelming odds goes out. Oh, nice turn and Hex. Duel is there now, and Moo's going to come in. He's going to get it with the chain through. Saksa could be in a lot of trouble, too. Goes for the TP. The chain will finish him off. Double kill for the Timbersaw. And conveniently underneath the tower with a big wave are Complexity. 8-4, finding themselves a lead, you know, as you recommended for them. And looking to take out this tier 1 as well. Rocket Flare, just a minor nuisance here, as they should be able to finish off this tower with ease. Bottom lane, Swindles ends up with the last hit on the tower. Z-Freak right back to work. Looking at Wee mid lane, who does have an arcane rune. And Moon gets another solo kill on Demon in the meantime. Seems somewhat inconsequential. He ends up using his hook shot for it. Z-Freak in trouble now. Wee mid lane. Doesn't charge up the Requiem. Going to be economic about it, and a couple of raises will net the kill onto Z-Freak. No one actually picking up the last hit there. Bureau, though, now he gets sharded in. Could be in a little trouble. We still had that arcane rune, but not willing to overcommit for this Bristleback, as the tower is just out of deny range at this point. They can't afford to kind of hang back. Meanwhile, though, bottom lane Moo is unattended to on this Timbersaw. Of course, he's going to push very slowly, being a Timbersaw, but still, they have no answer for him quite yet. And Rezo just kind of watching as his buildings struck here
as
by
they
the Timber.
say, permanent damage.
Very true. Hex again
Here.
does get off, and Z-Freak just low of 6. 2 nice hexes to cancel the charge thus far from Misery, but now Rezo potentially in trouble here. Charge gonna be up again. Timber Chain gonna tip off the Lycan to the impending threat, and he will make it up to the north. They do have a ward here, though, to the Dire side. That should have scouted him briefly, but he will make it back, and yeah, tower already at half HP. Moo gonna get to work again.
Denied.
Top lane Swindles running at Moon. Doesn't seem like much is going to come of it, as Moo picks up his point booster bottom lane. Begins to tank this tower a bit. Backs off Rezo, and Rezo spending a lot of time on this bottom lane as opposed to jungling or going elsewhere, and isn't really doing all that much in the way of defending the structure. Chakra gonna go out. Chain is there as well. Rezo taking quite a bit of damage. And now the rotations are inbound. He does pop up the wolves. Misery nearby. Saksa there as well. Moo, a very difficult kill, though. It will find the Warlock with the shards on the back end, but Moo still undeterred in this bot lane. We a little bit low mid. Firo Finds himself a DD, has a bottle as well. It's always going to help. And Moo looks like he will finish off this tier 2 bottom. Soxa inbound.
Demon just standing behind Moo bottom, waiting for them to overcommit so we can drop the rock on their heads.
Yeah, definitely a great tool to have behind a Timbersaw who wants you to commit and then turn the fight. But T-Birds won't bite. Mid lane though, Firo could be in a little bit of trouble. At least they're going to look to secure this tower here. And we will be able to do so. Hex goes out. But maybe we just thinking it's a little too difficult to go in on this bristleback. However, Moon is going to find the hook shot over to the east. Battery assault from the front side. Ether shock is there as well. Raise and one more tick. Moon able to find a kill on a big target. Swindle's rotating in. Gets hexed up. Charge coming through. Those shards are going to be there, but it doesn't block back Swindle's second dual win of the game for the Legion Commander. Z-Freak able to make it out of the cogs. Does get mana burned up though. And now we able to dodge the chakram, but the Chaotic Offering going to go out behind him. He gets the kill beforehand, though, on Swindles with the raise, and it's essentially just going to be a wasted ultimate for Demon as Moo is forced to back out to the east. And nicely played there on the back end, only losing the Shadow Shaman after they find the Bristleback kill, and they get the Legion on the back end. So great trade for Thunderbirds.
It's really impressive what T-Birds is doing right now. They know what happened in the laning stage is pretty bad, but they prioritize putting Resurrect in front so we can farm the jungle, you know, do Shadow Fiend things, get back on top.
Yeah.
And then Moo, with his great laning stage, gets a few solo kills and they're right back in it. 9-9, net worth ahead, net worth in favor of T-Birds by almost 2,000 or 1,500.
Yeah, big swing, about 4K net going their way, and they have a 4,000 experience lead as well. You mentioned kind of the inability of heroes like Bristleback and Spiritbreaker to come back from a big deficit, and certainly it's trending in that direction. Moo's going to pick himself up a Yules. He was able to cancel the chain of Moo bottom lane, and can kind of cancel charges with this. Also the chain as well. Good against the Legion Commander duel. So nice item for him to pick up early. And now sneaky play from T-Birds. You're talking about kind of the viability of Shadow Shaman. And you know, this is one of the things that perhaps you kind of just forget about when SS is not in the game often. And they will make it into the Roche Pit. They have the Sigil. They have the presence of the Dark Lord and the Masked Serpent Wards. And they're going to look to take down Roche here. And it looks like they'll be able to do so without Complexity making a move. Moo top lane looking for blood. He will get scouted by the wave. Rocket Flare may have just briefly caught Z-Freak, but the hook slightly wide. And Swindle's able to TP up to the north. Moon kind of free to use his spells like this, the Yules. Should give him enough mana regen to feel free to do so. Moo bottom lane just farming. Does have the Bloodstone now, but has yet to find a fight with it after getting ganked bottom lane. And we back in towards the top lane. Look at this tier 1 here. 16 minutes in. Extremely healthy for the Radiant side. We talked about kind of their lack of siege. Wee is not afraid of this Bristleback at all in the mid lane. Backing up the Goose, still feeling strong. Does have the Aegis, Dragonlance as well. Dragonlance, Aquila Treads, and the Sange. Very stat heavy build. Very tanky SF at this point. Overwhelming Onzo hits him big. Jump forward from Swindle's going to look for the duel, and Moo going to come in with the Chakram to pull back. They'll get the duel win, but it's just Aegis at this point. They have the Chaotic Offering. Saxa is nearby. He's going to pop up the Sigil, go into the Snowball. Requiem is not going to be canceled in time by the Chaotic Offering. The right click out finds Z-Freak, and now the punch in the backline. Sphero, though, he can kill off Wee, and Moo is nearby, able to do so. Chakram now down from the high ground onto Moon. Serpent Wards and the Ether Shock, they do end up finding that Bristleback, and the Lycan will clean up the Warlock on the north side. Moo now making it over towards the east. There is a shrine here, though, so you really can't just fight this. Swindle's inbound with the overwhelming odds, kills off the Wolves, and that'll back Rezo off as his ultimate expiring there. So we do see the Echo Saber reveal for Resolution. Still didn't feel all that effective in the fight despite all this net worth, and part of that just being the Midas in his inventory. Either way, overall, felt pretty even, but Complexity do end up taking away the Aegis from Thunderbirds. Still, though, no objective in that mid lane. Tier 1 tower is still very healthy, and that's always good for T-Birds.
Very important item, I think, for T-Birds is the maybe a Silver Edge. Well, definitely a Silver Edge. Weeha had one queued up. You definitely want to stop that reactive armor and the bristleback. But he went back for the SNY, probably prioritizing being tanky and taking objectives rather than stopping passives right now. Potentially going to go back for it. But they've cemented a lead without it, so I think it's not super important right now.
Yeah, they do have the medallion as well up on Saxa, so can just throw that on Wii, make it a Solar Crest. Eventually, Swindle's going to get caught with the snowball, and now the hook back in is going to connect onto Wii. Unfortunately for Moon, Wii, though, still standing strong. Moo trying to get inbound towards him. Rezo going to pop up the Shapeshift on the east, and the Shackle onto Moo's Timbersaw. Wii now standing and fighting his ground. Meanwhile, on the south, they do find the kill on the Shadow Shaman. Wii in trouble. Couple of more quills should bring him down. Rezo goes for the backlines and does end up getting the Warlock, but that's all she wrote for this Lycan. And now perhaps finally this tier 1 in danger. There is a glyph for the Radiant side, and they'll expend it here, but 30 seconds with Wii on the sideline, and Saxa has just not really been able to get in position. Neither has Moo in these last 2 engagements to protect Weeha. Unfortunately, that hook early on not landing, and Weeha ends up going down again. Or, yeah, the Shadow Fiend.
I feel like you're going to start seeing a damage problem on Thunderbird's side. coL is so tanky, and they have a lot of physical damage with the Shadow Fiend and the Lycan, but Solar Crest coming out, Vanguard's coming out, Timbersaw with his passive is just going to get really hard to cut these heroes down. Yeah. And their lockdown isn't strong enough to just hold them in one place so they can beat into them. We'll see how things continue to pan out, but right now it's looking pretty Complexity favored in terms of team fights for the past 2.
Yeah, the frontliners for T-Birds just have been unable to take the attention away from their Shadow Fiend, and as you mentioned, he seems to be the bulk of their damage. Rezo just kind of has to run around the periphery of the fights and look at the supports, and he's been able to do that, but not much more. Do that and get himself out, at least. So, you know, it's been a while. It's actually been the entire game since this Lycan has died. We'll see how effective he can be. He is building into that AC, so does has the Echo Saber Deso at this point, and will start to become a pretty big right-click presence. But as you mentioned, Vanguard, Solar Crest, the passive for both the Bristleback and the Timbersaw still going to be quite difficult to get through here. Moon, top lane. Moo just looking at him aggressively. Has a Solar Crest of his own as well on the Timbersaw and 18 Bloodstone charges, so very difficult targets to bring down from Complexity's side. Hero has a chainmail of his own, could look at a blade mail, perhaps an AC. His squad as AC being built up right now by Resolution. Moo gonna find himself the final tier 1 away from the Radiant top lane. And will secure the last hit on that. As Complexity gonna reconvene in towards the top lane. Couple of dual wins already in the hands of Swindles. He's got a blade mail now, so he has his essentials, the blink blade mail up on the Legion. And he's gonna make his way down bot lane as perhaps they show under this tier 2 top and bait the quote-unquote easy tier 1 tower bottom lane. Saxa, though, playing pretty safe, and he will actually cancel the blink of Swindles as they drop down the wards. Swindles now gonna forego looking for the kill and blink forward, farm up these wards, ensure that his tower is not taken out. Bot lane, top lane as well. Complexity have been backed away from the tower.
Misery is on the verge of buying a Blink Dagger, which I think is a great initiation tool for their fights, but I feel like potentially a Glimmer Kit might be more useful to save their Shadow Fiend, but it depends on what kind of pickoffs they can find. Demon goes down again. He did go back for the Midas, which I think will help as this game continues to progress, potentially going for an Ags or other important core items for Warlock. Definitely thinking about maybe his own Solar Crest with how prevalent it is in this current meta, just to make sure your cores remain unkillable with all his physical damage, forcing them into an MKB type item, maybe a Bloodthorn. We'll see.
We looking at a BKB for his next item. Still, though, a lot of physical damage remains, but he will negate effectively the Timber Saw at that point. Jump forward, charge, gives the vision onto Saxa, and the duel is there for Swindle. Swindle's having a good one thus far on his Legion Commander. 54 duel damage in his pockets. And the Blink Blade Mail reveal will bear fruit. They are controlling the map pretty well overall, with 4 tier 1 towers now eliminated. The Spear Breaker allowing them to aggressively posture continuously. And Complexity have dragged this one back. Only a 2,400 net worth lead now for Thunderbirds here. 15-16 the score, 24 minutes in.
The majority of that net worth is lumped into Rezo and Weeha. Moon is starting to fall behind even after his amazing early game. I feel like that's just kind of a problem with Clockwork as a hero. You can't really transition like Legion can, or like some of these other offlaners can, into a physical damage core. You really are all about the hookshot and the cogs. And it's just really hard to stay on top of the game in terms of farm and just pure net worth. But you know, a good cogs can change a fight, a good hookshot can change a fight. So it's not the end of the road for him yet. He definitely could look towards he's looking towards Zags. He's got a Yule's Blade Mail. Definitely still an important part of T-Birds' lineup, and they can still totally get back into this game with a good hookshot cogs.
Demon finding himself some space here bottom lane. Both teams playing with rather limited vision at the moment, and therefore no one looking for a fight in that top jungle area. Moo kind of more than tanky enough now with the Plate Mail, Solar Crest, Bloodstone to kind of just sit out in lane and farm the creeps and allow the rest of his lineup to, find space in the jungle. Z-Freak has a Blade Mail of his own, so a lot of tanky heroes. Even the forward position here or Complexity side. Solutions not quite yet ready for the Radiant side. BKB up on Wii though. Be a nice team fight tool for him against the Timber Saw. And avoid kind of that stat reduction. Allow him to stand strong in these fights. We've seen him be the major focus of all of Complexity's damage, as Complexity will smoke his 5. Rocket Flare perhaps providing a false positive here. Not catching anyone for T-Birds, but they are backing up to the high ground. Swindle's going to jump in. He finds maybe the wrong target. Gets Yule's up. Chaotic Offering will be there. Wii still under the cover of Blade Mail, but the charge cancels the Requiem again. Now the duel is gotten off onto Wii, but Wii is just going to win it and get himself some free damage. Meanwhile, Moo in the backlines takes a lot of damage. He's going to end up dropping 2. Firo in the front lines. Rezo still nearby. Gets the Courier in the meantime. Wii in trouble. Does end up going down, but it looks like T-Birds may clean this one up. Firo still standing strong, and actually with the goo, Rezo can't chase him down. Warpath is enough to get him away. Ends up being what looks like a 3-for-3 in that fight, as Moo does end up returning because of the Bloodstone, but Wii doing 4,300 damage in that fight all by his lonesome. The entire Complexity squad doing 8k. Moo gets a little bit deep on his Timber Saw and gets isolated out and brought down.
If you measure this game by Midas and Solar Crests, Complexity has 1 Midas and 2 Solar Crests, and T-Birds only has 1 Midas and 0 Solar Crests. So I think it's looking pretty good for Complexity right now.
Oh, the hook though.
Trying to finish his Solar Crest up, which will definitely be important for their cores. Oh my god, look at this fight.
It looked good at the start for T-Birds, but they don't have Weeha, and if they don't have Wii, they don't have damage. Jump in from Moo and Swindles to counteract. Firo low, but not dead. And it looks like Complexity in a position to take Roche and take this series to a 3rd game after that devastating fight. They're going to take 4 heroes away from T-Birds, everyone but the Shadow Fiend. Now Wii mid lane being charged up. Swindles nearby. Doesn't have the duel though. So will just be the glancing blow. But Roche going to be secured. Firo going to pick up the Aegis. And now with 2 lives on the Bristleback, potentially a Talisman of Evasion on top of his Solar Crest.
I think he had a Sange on the Courier, but the Courier was picked off. Definitely
Halberd, yes.
maybe a Halberd. I think Butterfly is a little out of the question, even though Evasion is so strong right now.
Yeah, would be odd for sure. Moo, 17 Bloodstone charges even after that death, and now Swindle's jumping forward looking for Saxa, and they really have the Yules here and the Hex. But Saxa, does he end up going down regardless? Snowball, and does end up dropping. They get Swindles for it. Yeah, it's definitely worth the Swindles trade. Still though, Aegis in the hand of T-Birds. Demon just gets right-clicked down by Wee. Optimistic TP for him there, and he gets spotted out. So 2 heroes after the Aegis is picked up going to be taken by T-Birds, and we still a pretty big force for Complexity to deal with. See, now with the Assault Cuirass, if Rezo can get something done in these fights. He has farmed up a Storm all game, but we're yet to really see his impact. Now though, sitting on 17k net worth, has his level 20 talent as well, so the Shapeshift can be popped up a little more often.
I thought about this earlier in the game, but I didn't think it would come into play. The 15% or the 15% cooldown reduction on the Midas just enables him to farm even faster, which could be a reason why he went for the item. Definitely cooldown reduction plus Midas equals more experience, more gold. But 50% at level 20 isn't that much. But it, it could come into play. We'll see if it can really help him farm even further, get to even more important items. Definitely thinking about his own MKB. Same with Weehop, both of them having it queued up.
Yeah.
They really need to deal with all this evasion coming out from these super tanky heroes. It's getting hard to kill. They're getting hard to kill.
Yeah, and Resolution not likely to go for a BKB at any time soon, and which means that this Halberd completed up by Furo could continue to kind of diminish his effect in the fights. MKB though is kind of close here for Wee. He's gonna have to forego buyback to complete it up, but could be the item turning fight if they provide enough frontline for this Shadow Fiend. Tier 2 is gonna be forfeit here, mid lane for T-Birds, and Firo Aegis in hand. Solar Crest, Halberd, Crimson Guard. He's gonna back out for now. It looks like they may think of defending this top lane. Hero will be the one to TP in, and him being the Aegis carrier, that's more than likely going to be the decision of the entire team. Demon gets down some deep vision for his squad.
Got it.
Yeah, top lane defended up in the meantime. Hook shot is going to find a Demon once again, as it has almost all game. Swindles goes for the duel, and Rezo chops him to bits. Now we jumping forward, looking for Z-Freak, gets a couple right clicks off. Shard's not going to catch anyone. Rezo not able to get the last right click off, and the Nether Strike comes back in to keep him in place. Z-Freak does end up dropping for it. Lycan saved by the snowball for the time being. Can Furo chase him down? He's going to get sharded in once again. They have the buff and the wards. Resolution still surviving. Moo nearby misses the chakram, tries to pull it back, is gonna get shackled up. Cogs are gonna be there as well. Rezo, they can't bring him down. Aegis on the deck. Misery looks like he may drop in the backlines, but the Yules from Moon keeps Moo up in the air. Now the Hex gets off. Requiem is there as well. Snowball finishes off the Timber Saw. Resolution, he's got another shapeshift available. Shards, unfortunate bounce though for the T-Bird side, and with the low respawn time of Timbersaw, now Legion back up, they are forced to back out, but a wonderfully executed team fight for T-Birds as no one drops there, and they get 5 heroes out of Complexity. That's going to be near enough for an MKB for the SF for Weeha, and close by as well is Resolutions. So a really sort of nicely timed win for the T-Bird side, as they look to equal out the lead that Complexity had moments ago. So Moo picks up a blink on his Timber Saw. It does feel like to some extent he's really been kited around in these fights. Cog, Snowball, the Disable kit available to the Shadow Shaman. And of course just the Lycan's move speed. Speaking of bottom lane. We're going to pop up the BKB, and Swindles, perhaps learning his lesson from trying to duel the Lycan recently, ends up backing himself away. BKB picked up by Swindles now. So Yule's no longer affects him during that duel, the Shadow Shaman as well. And perhaps he can get to the back lines and bring down that SS or Tusk. Hex top lane onto the Spear Break, the Rocket Flare. Maybe there to cancel any blink forward potential for Moo. Demon does pick up a Force Staff on his Warlock, but nothing to speak of other than that. No, neither side has opted to buy a gem at this point. MKB complete on Wii. And Moon still looking at an Ags.
Shiva's and AC about to come out almost simultaneously on Complexity. Probably wanting to stop Reza from hitting so hard. He's hitting for almost 300 just naturally. Not even including Howl. Crazy. He finishes MKB too.
Yes, farming for 35 minutes seems to get you there. Moon just kind of been the sacrificial lamb, but as you mentioned, has made the key play, at least in the last team fight for his squad. Shiva's AC, as you mentioned now, available to Complexity. And maybe with the Blink and Shiva's, Moon actually able to get something done in these fights as the BKB starts to dwindle down here for Wii. It's currently sitting on a 7-second duration.
Gold for me.
Saxa has a Blink of his own though, so Blink Snowball save very real possibility for either Wii or Rezo. And both teams thinking about Roche. T-Birds swarming around that area.
Players here.
Feels like the game gets very difficult for Complexity if they do not get this next Aegis. Firo TPing in towards the shrine. And a 5-man smoke from T-Birds. They're drawing in towards that dire shrine. Rocket Flare goes out. Not sure if it briefly scouts anyone in the mid lane. Still a tier 1 up bottom lane, so they can just backdoor that if this smoke is not successful. Moon looking to find someone. Look at Z-Freak's positioning though.
Pops the smoke. I don't think he realizes it yet, though. I think he's going to see Misery right now.
Oh, gets hexed up. And it looks like he'll be brought down. And they hook the backlines as well. Swindle Melons unable to counter initiate Moo. Not sure if that was intentional, but fortunate regardless.
If it was.
And they get to tier 1 here off the back of it. Maybe they look at Roche or they just look at that tier 2. Z-Freak off the board, 42 seconds, does have a buyback, unlikely to expend it here, and it's actually Complexity that beeline towards the pit, knowing that their enemies are bottom lane. TP in towards the shrine from Rezo's Lycan. He's paired up with Saxa, and Hero not taking any damage from Roche here, really. But no full commitment yet from Complexity.
Even with all of this armor reduction and solar crests and nasal goo, Complexity still doesn't take Roche that quickly compared to T-Birds, so they can't really just dive in there and finish it off before they can arrive. So they're really just having to back up, reprioritize, maybe go for a smoke. Yep, there they go. This could be a big fight right now.
Could certainly decide the game. Bit of a limitation in draft in the way that coL not really great at structures or Roche, great at team fighting though, and yeah, shards are going to be there. Blinks back. They see Z-Freak smoke pop, or at least Z-Freak sees his smoke pop. And therefore, Complexity going to look to back out. I have
Counter smoke coming out from T-Birds. They definitely know that Roche is up with the flare, and they're going to go try and take it for themselves.
Go.
Down through the mid lane they go. We, with that fresh MKB, were yet to see it in a fight. And they could certainly do a lot of work here. Moo nearby. Wards go up on the high ground. They're going to spot him briefly. He is near a shrine, though, and is a tanky target. They do find Demon. That could be the better one to initiate on. But no one in just yet. From T-Birds. Moon nearby with the hook shot. Backs off to the east. It is nighttime. Probably not scouted yet. We was scouted, though. Rocket Flare going to go and try and cancel any blinks. Give him a little bit more information. We going to get charged up. Cancelled immediately. Firo takes a few right clicks. And will turn his backside towards we. Both teams sort of jockeying for position at this point, knowing how important this next Aegis is.
Got it.
I think T-Bird's perhaps more willing to give it up than Complexity's side, as they know Complexity takes it a lot slower, and they can probably get both these tier 2s in the meantime. We'll see what their move is. Wards were already dropped bottom lane here by Misery. And no reaction yet from Complexity.
This tower's going to go down with no one responding. They prioritize the Rosh over the tower. Moon picks up his Ags, allowing him to hook pretty much whenever he desires.
And Misery going to make his way towards bottom. Of course, doesn't have the wards, but just going to push this wave in, force a reaction out, and now back towards mid he goes. TP in towards the top tower. Firo, the only one in the pit. He's going to get sharded up. Sigil will go out as well. And T-Bird's not committing really anything. They'll just allow their waves to continue to push in the mid and the bottom lanes. Misery. Go to the north side. We'll get a ward down, and he's going to get charged up. Gets a blink out, but he's in no man's land right now. Do they look to initiate down to the south? He gets the Yules off and the Hex onto Z-Freak. Now Firo, he might be in trouble here. Is all off by his lonesome. Saxa nearby gets caught with the Chakram. Will get the snowball off in time. And is able to punch up the Bristleback. Meanwhile, Moon brings down Z-Freak. Z-Freak going to buy back immediately. Weeg gets off the Requiem barely before the offering again. Hookshot is not going to land for Moon. They get up towards the Shine and reset this Complexity, but Swindles has been brought down in the meantime. Roche very low. They'll get the Aegis, or they'll get the Roche. Aegis is going to be taken by Rezo. Now blink up towards the high ground. Shards are going to keep Z-Freak back. Chain away from Moo. And Hookshot not going to find anyone for Moon, but the Walrus Punch into the air goes the Spirit Breaker. That's a dieback for him. Hex now out, and the Yule Scepter onto Moo's Timber. Who will go through the Lycan of Resolution, but Moon finds another Hookshot with his Ags on the back line. Complexity, they'll take the lower hanging fruit in the Warlock, and now Saxa going to blink forward. Does have a snowball in just a second. Hookshot is there onto Moon. They'll get him down. 50 seconds, no Timber Saw. Cog bounce back into the shards and the shackle. Saxa with the Walrus Punch. And 5 heroes for coL on the sideline. They're going to buy back on the Timber Saw. They have one on the Bristleback as well as the Warlock. Legion will be up in 14, so they should have 4 members for this base defense. But these buildings, they should go down quickly with Wee's Shadow Fiend and Resolution. Do have the Howl available. They will now pop it as the Glyph expires. Everyone, though, rather unhealthy here for the T-Bird side. They'll take the tier 3. We'll see how long they end up committing here. Moo taking a lot of right-click damage from Wee. Wee gets halbearded up. Looks like he was potentially healed by the cheese. And now that Saxa and Misery take a big overwhelming odds, Saxa going to end up getting chained and brought down. Rezo is going to be able to shapeshift and make it out. And all in all, they will only lose Tusk. They'll get themselves a tier 3, but a massive lead otherwise in that fight. Resolution
3 or 4 buybacks coming out of Complexity just to hold those racks.
Yeah.
Really, really amazing fight especially by Moon. Definitely landing hook after hook, trapping the heroes that need to be trapped, allowing the rest of his team to just focus them down. Crazy, crazy fight right there.
And Thunderbirds now well within their grasp at the end of this game. Moon again gonna find himself a Moo mid lane. Couple of right clicks with the MKB. And yeah, they do end up getting the battery assault as well as the MKB procs to cancel the charge. And 2 right clicks from the low ground. Demon ends up dropping. He'll buy back instantly. 60 seconds. No Moo Timber Saw. And as you mentioned already, 3 buybacks in the previous fight, so that's the 4th one off the table. Swindles does have his available. Remains to be seen if that's even nearly enough, as there's still an Aegis in the hands of Rezo. He's got a shapeshift available. He will get halbearded up. We Does have the Silver Edge in just a second. He'll drop it. Then they hook up Furo. They will be able to purge off the... Well, they'll purge early, actually. The break's still there. Now jump forward. Duel is going to be found onto Rezo. The snowball save, though, dodges both that and the chaotic offering from Saxa.
Shrine's healing so much right now, but it's not enough.
And they will continue to press forward. Shrines are not. Rezo still have an Aegis in hand on this Lycan, as they'll chase down the last remaining Complexity player in Z-Freak. GG going to be called. And after what looked like a pretty good early game and good early mid game for Complexity, at one big fight in the mid lane where they could not kill Rezo, huge swing for T-Birds. They bring it back. Really good understanding of how the lineup of Complexity has to work, and a lot of patience shown from Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds absolutely realizing that Complexity itemized so heavily into evasion that a couple MKBs can really turn the game, and as soon as I picked them up, the fights just started swinging in their favor. Really making strong item decisions there, cementing the end of the game.
Yeah, very well played overall by Moon, particularly on the clockwork. A couple key snowball saves and an early nice one as well to net them their first or second kill by Saxa. Looked pretty comfortable on his dust, but overall, it was really good execution there from Thunderbirds. They're going to take the series 2-0, but Epicenter will continue on for the evening, and it is going to be T-Birds playing their third best-of-3 series in a row. They played one in the Summit 7 earlier, this one you just saw, and now are going to play against IsGG, so the likes of Yawar, Snaking, CCNC are going to test their mettle against Thunderbirds, and the winner of that series will go on to the grand final of these qualifiers up against NP. So definitely a couple of, worthy opponents up against Thunderbirds coming next, but they have looked strong today with 2 back-to-back 2-0s, and they'll look to make it 3. And guys, until then, be sure to stick around. It'll be